This is an updated and corrected version of a review I did a couple of years back. However, in that video, I gave the guitar the wrong name. I've been calling this guitar the Donner Hush 1, when in fact it's actually the Hush I. So I've corrected the name in this video, but also added a section at the end with all the updates and all I've learnt about the guitar during the time I've had it. So here we go. Unboxing, tests and review of the Donner Hush I silent travel guitar. People who are familiar with my content will know that I've reviewed multiple Donner guitars, and that's because I find they sit in that sweet spot between value for money yet maintaining the quality. I've wanted to review this guitar for quite a while just because it looks so cool. And looking at it on the website, you can see it comes in 4 colours: mahogany, sunburst, black and maple. And the colour of the guitar I'll be reviewing today is the mahogany version. Right, let's get to the unboxing. And this came through Amazon, and the box it's in is huge. It must be about 4 foot long. But inside the larger box is some padding and a smaller box. And this box is obviously the Donner box because it's got their logo on it and the name of the guitar. Right, let's open this box. And you'll notice I'm speeding up all the unboxing, and that's so we can get to the all-important guitar more quickly. Here's our first look at the case, and I'm happy to say that it's a lot smaller than the outer box suggested. In the corner there's some bits and pieces, so I'll take those out first so I can get the case out. It looks like here we've got the headphones, a battery and a tuner. Now let's take the guitar out. And underneath the guitar case is a strap as well. As we've got them out, we might as well take a look at the extras first. The first thing I'll take a look at is the strap, which isn't as straightforward as you'd think, because this strap serves 2 purposes. It has the fitments to be used as a guitar strap, but also the fitments necessary to be used as a strap for the case. So this is a really good design for a guitar that's designed as a travel guitar, because it means you have to carry less. I'll use this strap more on the case than anything else, so I'll put it on there. The tuner is a pretty standard Donner tuner, and I've reviewed these several times in the past. The oldest Donner tuner I've had for about 2 years, and it still works well, and it's on its original battery. And they're a really good small size. The tuner comes with the necessary battery, so I'll be able to use it straight away. Right, let's take a look at the provided headphones. And it's worth me pointing out straight away that of all the guitars I've ever reviewed that came with headphones, this is the first one that comes with a case for the headphones. And it's a pretty good case as well. And having a good case for your headphones is seriously going to reduce the chances that they'll get broken. And in the case, along with the headphones, are 2 smaller earbuds and a clip so you can keep the wire out of the way. I think it's a really nice touch to provide the headphones, because if you haven't already got some, then everything you need is in the case to get started when the guitar arrives. Right, let's take our first look at the guitar. I won't speed up during any of these parts of the video, so you can get a really good look at the guitar as I unwrap it. I can tell you the zip is strong, because I tried to open the bag before opening the zip all the way, and I was quite brutal, but the zip held up. As you can see, the guitar's a really nice colour of mahogany. I'll just finish taking the guitar out of the case now, so we can take a proper look at it. And, of course, I'll get rid of the protective paper. Once you get it out of the case, you can see it's a really unique design. And at first sight, it looks more like a lap steel guitar, apart from the fact that the neck is finished so nicely. As I mentioned earlier, the mahogany is a really nice colour, and the wood is all finished in satin finish, which for this style of guitar really looks good. And the metalwork is like an anodized gunmetal grey, which suits this style of guitar down to the ground. It looks really different, but still classy. The machine heads are the open type, and they've got very small thumb screws. But if you look at the end of the machine heads, they've got sockets so you can put an Allen key into them. So you've got that extra bit of leverage if you need it when you're tuning the guitar. And because the tool stores away in the guitar, means it's always with you when you need it. Different makers of travel guitars give the size of the guitar different names. For example, I've heard wings and rests. However, Donna called them stands. So let's put them on to see how the guitar looks. The biggest stand, or the left-hand stand as they've called it, is in a pocket on the inside of the case, which you could easily miss if you didn't know it was there. However, the smaller stand, the right-hand stand, isn't in there, so I'm assuming it's in the smaller pocket on the outside of the case. And sure enough, in the pocket on the outside of the case, along with the instructions and a small cleaning cloth, is a protective bag which contains either the smaller stand or the right-hand stand as they've called it. In the protective bag, there's also two other plastic bags, one with a spare Allen key and the second one with 4 Allen bolts, 3 rubber caps and some plectrums. Now, the reason I'm not sure about the rubber caps is because they're not mentioned in the instructions, either as part of the contents or what to do with them. I'm guessing they're to fit on the end of the stands to give it a slightly cleaner finish, but I can't be sure of that because the finish on the stands is very good anyway. And they're really made of good solid aluminium, so there's no way you could damage them, or not in normal use anyway. Assembling the guitar. Right, let's put the stands on, and to do this we'll need the tool again. And we need to carefully line up the stand with the holes in the top of the guitar so we don't scratch it. And there's some springiness in the stand, so you can bend it slightly to make sure it lines up properly. Once you've got the stand lined up with the holes, you want to push it so it's firmly in place. Then we take one of the Allen bolts and drop it in the hole, and then tighten it up very carefully so you don't cross thread it. Once you're happy that that stand is in place and tightened up, we can move on to the next one. This one's got a little bit more of a complication in that there's only one bar, so you have to be careful that the hole in the bar is lining up properly with the hole in the wood before you drop the Allen bolt into place. And when you tighten it up, again, be very careful you don't cross thread it. And once you've tightened that rest up, that's it, finish. It's just those 2 Allen bolts you put into place and the guitar's ready to use. The other 2 Allen bolts that came in the little bag are spares, just in case you lose these 2. So I'd recommend you put those away in the case in case you ever need them. And once I've put the Allen key safely away back into the guitar, I can put the battery into place and then I can tune the guitar up. Before I test the guitar, we'll just take a good look at it and a look at its features. A look at the guitar's features. I'll start with the neck and headstock. The neck is very straight and the action is really low, and the frets are highly polished and very well finished. There's no sharp edges at all on the side. And measuring the action on the bottom E string at the 12th fret, it's approximately 1.75mm. And on the top E string at the 12th fret, it's approximately 1.5mm, which is very low indeed. The back of the neck is mahogany and in a satin finish, and it's an asymmetrical neck, which are becoming more and more popular. And this is the first one I've played where I could actually feel clearly the asymmetry, and you can feel the difference it makes. And because it hasn't got a true headstock as such, you can actually see the shape of the asymmetry at the end of the guitar. Both the fretboard and the bridge are made of HPL, which stands for high pressure lamination. And I'm not too familiar with this material, so I'll have to see how it behaves over time and how it sounds. Both the nut and the saddle are made of bone, which is arguably the best material for these 2 components. Something I've found really useful is the hoop on the top of the guitar in place of a headstock. And without this hoop, there'd be no way of hanging it on a usual guitar hook. However, because the guitar's very light and it's got this hoop, you can hang it virtually anywhere, so it's very easy to store. And this is doubly useful when you consider the shape of the guitar means it doesn't sit on a guitar rack like most guitars do. The truss rod is dual action, which means it should be easier to adjust if and when you need to adjust it. And the truss rod cover is made of metal and finished in the same finish as all the other metal on the guitar. If you like to use a strap, the guitar's got a strap button located on the heel of the neck. And the second strap button is cleverly integrated with the output jack. There's 2 string trees fitted behind the bridge in order to keep the pressure of the strings uniform on the saddle. And the woodwork the body is made of is really nice, and it's finished really beautifully as well. Normally, I'm not a big fan of the satin finish, but on this type of guitar with the ultra modern look, it really works well. The electrics are all built into one neat black plastic case with the battery compartment on the back, a headphone socket, an auxiliary in, a tone, high and low adjustment, a volume control, and a phase inverse button, which you can use to reduce feedback if that becomes a problem. Right, let's tune the guitar up and try it out. Guitar tests. I'll tune the guitar up first using the provided tuner, and then I'll double check the tuning on a tuner I know is accurate. I'll speed this bit up to double speed so the video's not so boring, but I'll give you an overview of how I found the guitar to tune. At first, tuning the guitar up is quite fidgety. One reason being that all the tuners are very close to each other, so it's easy to knock or turn the wrong tuner. Another thing I've noticed is that when you're tuning down, you can do this more or less on each string with just your fingers. However, when you have to tune up, you really need to use the Allen key, because there's no way of getting a good grip on the tuners. I think the main problem is it's just where the tuners are, and it takes a while to get used to tuning your guitar from this angle. However, once the guitar's in tune, it's very solid and it stays in tune. My only criticism of the provided tuner is the fact that it's designed to be clipped on, and because you've got no headstock, there's nowhere that really allows you to clip it on easily. And I've only clipped it on here during this bit, so you can see the tuner on camera. However, the sound doesn't transmit very well through the metalwork. The guitar's got amazing resonance, and I have to kill each string before I move on to the next string, otherwise the tuner gets confused. After checking the tuning with a tuner I know is accurate, I can tell you that the little tuner provided is pretty accurate and it gets your guitar in tune. It's worth me pointing out that during the last check, that was the sound of the guitar on its own, unplugged. So you can hear it's loud enough to practice with, but it's not so loud that it would disturb other people. And my camera was pretty much on top of the guitar, so the microphone was very close. Sound tests. For this section, I'll obviously have the guitar plugged in, so you can hear the sound the guitar produces by itself. I let that sound die out naturally because I wanted to demonstrate the amount of resonance the guitar's got. It really rings on nicely. That test was done completely flat. In other words, the volume was at 50%, the low tone was at 50%, and the high tone was at 50%. And it more or less went straight in through my sound card. And to me, it sounded very much like an acoustic guitar. And the piezo pickup is very transparent. It's not obvious it's a piezo pickup. And I think with a little tweaking, it could sound absolutely beautiful. So here's that little snippet again with a little tweaking. The tweaks I did there were really tiny. I just did a little bit with the graphic equalizer and added a tiny bit of reverb to make it sound more natural. And as I'm sure you could hear, it did sound really natural. Right, I'll just do a very simple test to see what effect the low tone and the high tone has on the sound. And I'm just going to play open strings so I can leave the guitar lying on its back. This way I can keep the camera on the tone controls. To film this little bit, I also had to take the top rest off because the rest was obscuring the view of the controls. Before we go on, I'll put the rest back on, but I'll do this real time so you can see exactly how long it takes to put it on. And as you can see, it's no trouble. It takes only a few seconds to put the rest on or to take it off. With the headphone test, I obviously can't show you much because what I'm hearing you can't hear. However, I did test it on the provided headphones and my old headphones that I know the sound of. And it sounded great. Very clean, no background noise and no hiss. And with all the travel guitars I've ever reviewed, hiss has always been a bit of a problem. But I think I know the reason for this, and I'll explain it later. Something else I noticed with the headphones is the fact that it's got a really strong signal. So if you were to buy one of these, I'd recommend you lower the volume to 0 and then slowly higher it as you listen to the sound of the guitar. I found I could only turn the guitar up to about 25% because anything more than that was a bit loud. But it means you've got plenty of headroom if you ever need it. Alongside the headphone socket is the auxiliary in socket. And this is perfect if you like to practice with backing tracks using your mobile phone or an MP3 player or a laptop even. The tolerance for the input signal on the auxiliary socket is quite wide. I tested it on an instrument out, a line out, and headphones out, and it took all of these signals quite nicely. Bear in mind you control the volume through the device. So if it was your mobile phone, you'd have to use the volume on your mobile phone in order to set the backing at an equal volume with your guitar. You can hear the combined signal through either the headphones or the output. This test is the output from the guitar, but with a drum machine going in through the auxiliary in. It's worth me re-emphasising that the volume control on the guitar has no effect on the auxiliary level. You have to do that through the device. To demonstrate that, this shows me adjusting the volume of the guitar, but the drum machine isn't affected. Before doing the conclusion, I need to mention the case. The case has clearly been designed for travel, like the guitar, because it's like no other soft case I've ever felt before. It's almost like a hybrid. It's soft, but it's got some sort of stiffness in it. It's almost like they've put a layer of hardboard or plastic in between the layers of padding. The zips are good quality. The carrying handle is good quality, and it's got an elastic strap inside the case to hold the body in place, as well as a Velcro strap to hold the neck into place. And the handles are made out of metal. And it's all finished off nicely with an embroidered logo of the guitar. And that's about all I can say about this guitar and case. So let's go to the conclusion. Donna Hush Eye Review Conclusion. At the time I did this review, I was more than a little aware that this was the most expensive Donna guitar I'd ever reviewed. However, compared with most travel guitars, it was actually very competitive. And if you were to compare it with something like a Yamaha equivalent, it was less than half the price. When I first saw pictures of this guitar, my first concern was the size. I'm 6'2", and if a guitar's too small, it really feels uncomfortable to me. Yet, this guitar is surprising in that it feels bigger than it looks. And I think part of that is due to the size and position of the frame. And I measured the distance between the top E string and my leg, and it was more or less exactly the same as a Fender Strat, and slightly bigger than a Les Paul. So it really does feel like a full-size guitar. The neck feels really nice, and because it's asymmetrical and it varies up the neck, it's very difficult to describe it because it's not thin, but also it's not fat. And you can really feel the asymmetry on this neck. I've played several guitars with asymmetrical necks, but none of them I've played are as obvious as this neck. You can notice the asymmetry. And if the research is correct, this means it should reduce wrist strain and mean you can play the guitar for longer. The sound the guitar creates when it's plugged in is really nice. It's very clear and transparent, and I'm sure if you did a blind test, it would be very difficult to tell the difference between this guitar and a true acoustic guitar. Another thing is that there's absolutely no noise. Even if I turn every knob up to full blast, you can't hear any background noise. It's really clean. However, I think this you get because you don't have any inbuilt effects. So, if you want inbuilt effects, this isn't the guitar for you. But if you want a really clear, excellent guitar, this would be the guitar for you. All of this being said, it would be nice if the guitar had an inbuilt tuner. But you never know, this might be planned for a future version of the guitar. Being really picky, I'd have to mention the fact that when you've got the bar in place, the access to the control panel is a little awkward. And if you've got an expensive or a bulky auxiliary in lead, you might not be able to plug it into this guitar because the bar gets in the way. But for me, I can ignore those slight issues because I really like the way the guitar feels, and I really like the way the guitar sounds. And the fact that it packs away into such a small space is a definite bonus. Something I haven't done yet is to put it away in its case. So I'll do that now, just so you can see how long it takes, and I'll do it real time. And the background music was recorded on this guitar with some reverb. Review updates after 2 years of use. The guitar still works perfectly as it did the first day I got it out of the box, and the frets don't seem to have worn any, and the high pressure laminate fingerboard that I wasn't sure of because I'd never used this material before hasn't aged at all. There's no discolouring and there's no damage. The only thing that has changed over the time is the Allen key actually rusted a bit. So I cleaned it up with wire wool and put rust treatment on it, and it's been fine since. Though, even if the Allen key had got lost or got too badly corroded, it's a standard size, so it'd be easy to find a replacement. I've done a couple of modifications in that I've lowered the action slightly, but also I've put O-rings over the volume and tone controls because it gives you more purchase, because the knobs themselves are quite slippery. I've found out that the tuning posts are hollow, so when you restring the guitar you can put the end of the string into the hollow part, meaning there's no sharp edge to catch your clothes on. I also found out that the pickup has a standard connecting plug on it, so if you ever want to replace or upgrade the pickup, it would be really easy to do. The more recent Hush guitars that followed this one have upgraded rests on them, and these are easier to get on and off. However, they are heavier, so they have advantages and disadvantages. But the rests on this guitar are still absolutely fine and do the job. And that's it for today's video. Hopefully I've brought you up to date with everything that's happened with the Hush I, not the Hush 1. And you'll come back for future videos. If you've enjoyed this video though, please give us the thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, it's really appreciated if you like, subscribe and hit the bell icon. And as usual, a really special thank you to the people who've become members of this YouTube channel, because without them, it's doubtful I'd be able to keep making videos. And finally, if you're looking for completely free guitar lessons or a guitar course, go to www.ebooksforguitar.com. Thanks again for watching. Until next time.